Hey there, everyone. Atheist Ranger here. Just going to be responding to Antonio's Fletcher's video to Heather Holder. And just by the way, just throwing this out there, if this video happens to freeze, I apologize. My computer is a piece of crap. And I also apologize in advance if I cough. I've been dealing with a cough lately, so please excuse that. Excuse that. So, without any further ado, let's get into his nonsense.
Let's get into the video and see exactly why.
Hi, my name is Heather Holder, and I am here to talk to you about 10 reasons why abortion should be and stay legal everywhere. 1. Because this isn't the same thing as being a human child. It lacks a nervous system, a brain, emotions, and all the other requirements for being a human baby at this current point in time.
Now, there are quite a few things which have to be pointed out here. First of all, it's interesting to me when pro-choicers focus so much on how the unborn looks and is developed in the womb. But
No, Antonio, it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the fact that a zygote is not a person. A gamete is not a person. Those two things don't equal personhood. And no matter how much you try to assign personhood to a zygote or a gamete, it's not a fucking person. I'm sorry.
there are quite a large number of abortions which occur when the unborn is much more developed than in this pic here. Even she admits herself later in the video that most abortions happen in the first trimester. In the first trimester, which ranges from week 1 to about week 12, arms and legs are clearly visible by around the 8th to 9th week period. So even in the first trimester time frame in which most abortions are happening, you're still practically and realistically looking at abortions which are not just killing what looks to be like the pic you see here. Second,
Okay, yeah, that is true that 90% of abortions are done the first trimester. However, and this is the fact that I know that has been brought to your attention, 90% of first trimester abortions happen before 8 weeks. So realistically speaking, yes, that's what's being taken out of a woman's body is just a cluster of cells. I know that you pro-lifers hate that term, but yes, that's what's being taken out of a woman's body. Literally 9 times out of 10, that is what's being taken out of a woman's body is just a cluster of cells. Sorry to disappoint you.
how the unborn looks and functions like to justify abortion is nothing more than an arbitrary fiat claim, which is question begging, which is a logical fallacy. It's a fallacy because it is assuming the very thing it is attempting to prove, that size and level of development somehow magically equates to an argument justifying abortion. Anybody can simply assert an arbitrary fiat claim as a basis, but that isn't an argument. Third, if we
Okay, size and development is a justification and is an argument. And I'm sure this may sound, pardon me, I'm sure this may sound very cruel to you and your pro-lifer friends, but the further away it is from being human, the less rights it gets. Sorry.
are only dealing with a couple cells which have no real value and aren't the same as a born child, then why would a fairly large number of pro-choicers freely admit they don't really like abortion at all? If women are only aborting an insignificant clump of cells, who cares? These are a lot of the same people who compare abortion as no different than masturbating and killing sperm cells, but you don't hear them saying, well, nobody really likes masturbating. If abortion is in essence no different than masturbating, then why would abortion be put into such a negative category even by the pro-choicers themselves?
Uh, well, I can only speak for myself. I can't speak for any other pro-choicers, but I don't view it that way. Quite frankly, I view abortion as really no different from any other medical procedure. But if I had to guess, I would say most pro-choicers, well, not most, some pro-choicers don't like it because of the social stigmatism that these women go through. Which, by the way, we have pro-lifers like you to thank for that because you, for some reason, want to shame women who get abortions, which I find rather disgusting.
As a side note, I'm not claiming that this is Heather's argument, but I find it very interesting. A lot of the same people talking about the unborn doesn't look and function like a child are also a lot of the same people who will turn around and say that how a person's genitalia looks and functions like doesn't determine who they are between a man or a woman. So, in the mind of many irrational pro-choice liberals, looks and functioning works only when irrational liberals arbitrarily say they apply to justify their personal agendas. Kind of crazy, isn't it?
Okay, that was a complete red herring. Antonio, you may be surprised to hear this, but the science behind transgenderism, which by the way, it is a scientific fact that pardon me, brain fart. It is a scientific fact that people are born with their God damn it. This is scripted too. The science of transgenderism is different than a tiny fetus in a woman's stomach. Okay, with transgenders, you have people who, yes, are born male, but it is a scientific fact that their brains are hardwired against the sex that they are in. Okay, that is obviously different from a tiny fetus in a woman's stomach when the woman does not want it there.
2. Because nowhere in the Bible does it directly state that abortion is wrong and sinful. The Bible is often manipulated as a political tool. That's why it's important, if you're of faith, to do your own reading.
Apparently, Heather doesn't seem to realize many people clearly more educated than she is in this area have done their own reading in the Bible. First of all, she's arguing from silence. She's inferring that the Bible's alleged silence on abortion means that God is permitting it. That is simply wrong. One cannot logically infer that silence about something necessitates a permission of something. The Bible also does not directly say killing the unborn one day before birth is a sin either, so by her logic, we should think God is permitting it. That is just stupid logic. In certain things the Bible doesn't specifically say, we can know by way of inference from other passages and cross-referencing. Jeremiah 1:5 states that he knew his creation even before he formed this creation in his mother's womb. So God is clearly acknowledging there are persons in the womb. To cross-reference that with the 6th commandment, thou shalt not murder, we can clearly see it's murder to kill the unborn in the womb. Let's have a moment of silence for her employment of stupid logic.
Okay, I'm just going to skip this here, but as this argument is pretty much useless because it does not matter what the Bible says. Newsflash, Antonio, we have a separation of church and state in this country. So as far as I'm concerned, what the Bible says is irrelevant. And more importantly, the Bible is not anti-abortion. There is a part I don't know the exact scriptures, so pardon me for that. But there is a part in the Bible where God goes through ancient Samaria and rips out the fetuses of the already pregnant women in that country. That is quite literally the Christian God committing abortion himself. So sorry to disappoint you, but your little holy book is not anti-abortion.
Programming.
3. Just because you make it illegal does not mean it's not going to happen. Back alley abortions are very, very dangerous. In the 2 decades before abortion was legal in the United States, it's been estimated that nearly 1 million women per year sought out illegal abortion. Thousands died, tens of thousands were damaged, all were forced to behave as if they were criminals.
Okay, alright. There are so many things she gets wrong here. First of all, it's not a logical argument to say that because things will still happen is an argument against illegality. Rape, theft, underground sex trafficking, etc. still happen all the while being illegal, but that doesn't mean that because they still happen is an argument to make them legal. Therefore, because abortion will still happen is not an argument to necessitate it should be made illegal. We don't determine the legality or illegality of a thing by merely the fact of a thing happening, whether illegal or not. Second,
okay, Antonio, what did you say? Sex trafficking, rape, theft, and murder. That's different than abortion because when those things are legal, the 4 things you just mentioned, they still fucking hurt people. It still, in a way, breaks down society. Abortion isn't like that. You don't want to seem to get this through your head. You don't want to seem to get this fact through your head. Making abortion illegal, there is no if about it. It's going to do more harm than good. But I don't know how else to say that to you. That is a fact, good sir.
Second, whether abortion is illegal or not has nothing to do with how safe or unsafe the procedure is. Now, what determines how safe or unsafe the procedure is the person performing it and their ethics. Abortion being legal doesn't mean women have gotten quote unquote safe abortions, and abortion once being made illegal doesn't mean they'll quote unquote get unsafe abortions.
Okay, yes, it does. And here's why. Antonio, when abortion is legal, you have women can freely go to doctors who not only have experience in abortions, but they'll be getting those abortions in clean, safe environments. That is a fact. However, when you have illegal abortions, you have women going to whoever wants the fuck to do it, trained or not trained, and they'll be doing it most likely in an unsafe environment with crazy ass methods. In fact, if I remember correctly, the most common method way back when was what's called a hanger abortion. Look it up.
In fact, her claim thousands of women have died in the last 2 decades before abortion was made legal in the United States is demonstrably false. I have some information which debunks this claim in the description. Third and last.
Okay, the number of deaths kind of is irrelevant, but it is a fact that women did die when abortion was illegal. You did have women dying from getting unsafe abortions. Okay, and the fact that you are honestly willing to put women's lives at risk so you can feel better about yourself, once again, I find highly fucking immoral.
Even if it is true, thousands of women would get unsafe procedures and risk major harm and/or death isn't an argument to justify the act of abortion. The fact that women would do risky things which could lead to major harm and/or their deaths doesn't mean that killing the unborn is a justifiable act. The fact is, actions have consequences, and those women are responsible for the decisions they make. One cannot point the finger elsewhere and blame others. That is a separate issue from the act on the unborn itself, and to connect those two separate issues to justify abortion is nothing more than an illogical emotional argument, not a logical argument.
Four.
Okay, it is absolutely a justification because if women are going to get abortions, they have a right to do it in a safe environment, not an unsafe one. And by the way, nice victim blaming. Okay? The fact that you think it's a woman's fault that she's going to have to go through an unsafe abortion because society made it illegal, no. It is society's fault for backing her into that unsafe corner.
Or because women have rights. If we aren't even allowed to take organs from a deceased person without his or her consent, regardless of saving someone's life, why are we trying to dictate this living, feeling individual? The mother is alive, and she has rights to her body.
This is nothing more than an old organ donation argument. The organ donation argument is not comparable because if someone dies because they didn't receive the organ they needed, then that death is passive, not active. Active versus passive death is an important distinction. Why? Well, say someone who needs an organ from you doesn't get it and eventually they die. That's passive death. But let's change up the scenario a bit. Let's say you deny your organ to them and before they pass away as a consequence, you put a bullet in their head. Now, you would be clearly charged with murder if you did such a thing, and for good reason, but you wouldn't have been charged at all if you simply denied your organ and the person passed away on their own. In other words, you cannot actively kill someone because they rely upon you for their survival. This is what abortion is, the active killing of the unborn. It is not simply a passive denial of a woman's body. There is a clear difference between active death and passive death. Even if one could make a coherent bodily autonomy argument, it would not justify active killing. And let's take such reasoning and apply it elsewhere. Let's say a landlord rents out property they own to a tenant. Generally speaking, in the United States, a landlord cannot evict the tenant off their property without going through the proper procedures and acquiring a court order. But if we apply the logic of her argument to the landlord-tenant situation, the landlord should have every right to evict the tenant whenever they please for any or no reason without a court order because they own the property. Their property, their choice, right? It's simply a bad argument. Case closed. And oh yes, she says the mother is alive as if to imply the unborn isn't alive. If this was her implication, then she needs to brush up on some basic science and learn the unborn is alive.
5.
Okay, the example you gave was honestly, pardon me, was honestly just so dumb that I'm not even going to respond to it. But Antonio, it isn't actively killing anything. Nothing is actively being killed. Okay, because all women are doing is they are removing. It is women removing something from their body that they do not want. Okay, you may find this hard to believe, Antonio, but women are not hosts. They are not obligated to carry something in their body that they do not want simply because you disagree with it. All right? In fact, this is to use an example, you telling women that they can't have an abortion because you personally disagree with it. That would be like me coming to you and telling you that you can't eat donuts because I'm on a diet. Why don't you think about that?
5. Because most abortions happen within the first 3 months of conception. Late-term abortions are illegal except during life-threatening situations.
This is yet another thing she stated which is demonstrably false. Elective late-term abortions happen all the time in places like Maryland, around 26 to 20 weeks of pregnancy. In New York, late-term abortions are not unusual and occur quite regularly. And again, these are elective. I'm not talking about life-saving procedures. I'm talking about actual elective late-term abortions. She's also ignorant of the Doe v. Bolton ruling, which defined quote-unquote health quite broadly across the board, in which a woman can get an abortion, including mental health. All she has to do is get an abortion to sign off on it, and under this ruling, abortions are covered all 9 months. She may not actually have a life-threatening issue, but if the abortion is signed off on it, she's covered. She clearly either hasn't thoroughly researched this issue and is arguing in ignorance, or she's deliberately being dishonest.
6.
Okay, Antonio, what you just said is demonstrably false. Late term abortions are illegal at the federal level, and that means late term abortions for for just casual reasons. That is illegal at the federal level. As far as to what your statement about New York and Maryland, honestly, I'm gonna need a citation because I tried looking that up and I could not find that law. I couldn't find that research anywhere. And this I and to what and furthermore to what you said about late term abortions happening on a regular basis is fucking not true. Late term abortions only consist of 5% of all total abortions. Okay? Late term abortions don't happen that often. And most of the time, 99% of the time when they do happen, it's because of life threatening situations.
Because they are not horribly dismembered, like those bloody, scary, gory pictures you see online. Early abortion can be done at home with a pill if the woman so chooses. Abortion is a safe, simple procedure.
Just because the abortion pill exists does not mean there aren't dismemberment abortions which exist. This was just an outrageously stupid point on her part, which demands another moment of silence.
What a sad attempt at humor, ladies and
Thank
gentlemen.
you. And now we return to destroying Heather's terrible logic and demonstrably false statements.
Okay, no, that's what I'm doing with you because you clearly missed her point. You may find this hard to believe, Antonio, but most abortions, there is no dismemberment whatsoever fucking ever. With most abortions, I think a little over, I think 80% last time I checked. Uh, most abortions happen either they either they vacuum the cluster of cells out of a woman's uterus, or they give you a pill which pretty much flushes everything out. That's what's going on most of the time. That's why we consider it dishonest when you're showing people these dismemberment photos, because it's not true. That's not what's going on most of the time.
7. Because there's tons and tons of women in prison in El Salvador over miscarriages, accused of having illegal abortions and charged with murder.
This is just another outrageously stupid argument. People are accused of lots of things in society they are innocent of. Nobody wants such things to happen, but that doesn't mean laws shouldn't exist against certain things because at times innocent people may go to prison. Let's just make killing any and every person legal because way too many times the wrong person was convicted. That way, we'll prevent any innocent person from going to prison. This is just all around bad reasoning. What we should focus on is making an argument to work on the improvement of jurisprudence in society, not an argument against it.
Okay, what a fucking straw man as usual. Once again, you missed her point. She's obviously responding to the point of, well, you know what? You can just adopt. Well, guess what, Antonio? Adoption isn't for all women, especially who, from the look, for some people, don't want to fucking stop. Okay, you want to force an alcoholic to give birth to a kid that's most likely going to have mental, if not physical, defects from her drinking during pregnancy? Didn't think so.
8, because there are too many kids.
Oh, sorry, one more thing. And also, to make abortion illegal, to what you were saying earlier, if you make abortion illegal, Antonio, there is no if about it. You will have to waste police time and police resources investigating miscarriages to make sure they were accidental.
Kids in foster care already. Not all kids get adopted, and adding more to the mix doesn't help. Adoption is good for some women, but not all.
She actually shoots herself in the foot with her own argument here. Why? Think about it. If there are too many kids in the foster system, then how could that possibly be so if many women did not choose to have their child, in which case the children ended up in foster care in one way or another after these women freely chose to go through with their pregnancy? So, it's a problem that we have too many women freely choosing to go through a pregnancy, which has led to this issue? If she truly supports choice, then why does it matter to her how many kids end up in foster care if the consequence of quote-unquote too many being there is because many women chose to carry their pregnancies to term in the first place? Is she indirectly implying she has a problem with the choice which results in quote-unquote too many kids? If so, then she's shooting herself in the foot by complaining about the amount of kids. We apparently can't have too many women freely choosing to have babies and potentially ended up in the foster care system now, can we? Her concern should be about fixing the system, not simply complaining there are too many kids in it. She says that we shouldn't be adding more, but the only way to adding more is if more women who are currently pregnant, who do not have the means to care for a child, get abortions more than the amount of women who decide to have their children anyway. As things stand now, would she be advocating necessarily that more women get abortions to avoid making things worse? In this case, is she hoping more women get abortions? If so, then what she's inevitably doing is putting the blame on women, quote unquote, adding to the problem by not getting abortions if they decide to have their child anyway, despite not having the means to care for their child. Doesn't sound very pro-choice to me at all. And this is how she shoots herself in the foot with her own argument.
Okay, no, she doesn't. And honestly, what a way to twist the words. By the way, to my audience, I apologize for my earlier statement. I got ahead of myself when in this video. Antonio, she is obviously replying to the ridiculous argument that even you make all the time. That, oh, well, you know, they can just put it up for adoption. Okay, well, you may find this hard to believe, but adoption is not for all women, especially drug addicts and alcoholics who have no desire to stop. Okay, so the fact that you want to force a drug addict and an alcoholic to, you know, go through with a pregnancy where there is no if, that kid will definitely have either a mental disability or physical disabilities from their mother either doing drugs or doing alcohol the entire pregnancy. And by the way, fun little math fact for you. There's, I think, 500,000 kids in the foster care system right now. If abortion was made illegal, that number would double to almost 1 million. So unless you're going to adopt some kids, I suggest that you keep this adoption argument under wraps.
9, because it's not our place to judge and shame other women. who have to make the tough decisions. And as a woman, whether you had an abortion or not, you should never give up the rights or the rights of your sisters.
In the Bible, it says all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. With that in mind, I'm not out to hold a woman getting an abortion as something I can use to point my finger at her as necessarily committing something worse than the sins I've committed. I'm guilty under God just as much as the women who have gotten an abortion. That being said, however, we cannot overlook the evil that is abortion. We have to equally call it out as wrong, just as we do any other sin. But what really interests me is when pro-choicers say that women shouldn't be shamed for getting an abortion. But who are they to say who should and shouldn't shame who? The arguments they build to justify abortion rely on moral relativism. So if morals are relative, who cares who shames who? Who cares if women get shamed? Are they forcing morality on others to say others shouldn't shame women who get abortions? Doesn't sound very pro-choice to me. Why would they get upset about women being shamed if morals are relative?
Okay, well, you're the last person to be talking about moral relativism because you're part of a religion that has 41,000 denominations. So you're the last person to be lecturing people on moral relativism. And number two, society will not be productive if everyone is keeping secrets out of shame. Okay, when you're shaming someone, if someone has something shameful in their past, they're going to want to keep that a secret. Now, maybe you're comfortable with living in a society where everyone's keeping secrets from each other, but I don't.
10. Because all kids should be loved and wanted. If women are forced to carry unwanted pregnancies to term, the result is unwanted kids. Everyone knows that they're among society's most tragic cases, often uncared for, unloved, brutalized, and abandoned. When they grow up, they are at a serious disadvantage, and sometimes are inclined towards brutal behavior to others. This is not good for children, families, or the country. Kids need love and families who want and will take care of them.
Translation. All she just said here is simply code for the world has problems, so let's kill kids to avoid making the problems worse. A huge gaping problem with approach.
Okay, no, she did not say that. You are just simply putting words in her mouth, as you always do with most of these pro-choice videos.
Choice argument is how inconsistent they are. They want to pretend like what they support with legal abortion isn't just as much of a problem as other brutal killing murderers with the moral relativism they appeal to. Morals in their mind are relative, but somehow they are more justified by killing logic than the mass serial killer killing born humans. Heather has absolutely no objective basis to argue that her killing position isn't on the same level of brutality as the mass serial killer. If the mass serial killer says he is justified in his actions as a woman getting an abortion, then who is the pro-choicer to say he's wrong under moral relativism? What they think doesn't equate to truth. If in his mind he's just as equally, if not even more justified for his actions, then he is. This is the conundrum the pro-abort is in when arguing their position based on moral relativism. But what about the currently born kids she claims aren't loved? What are we to do with them? Kill them? Why only stop at an arbitrary point in the womb? After all, you wouldn't want these currently unloved kids growing up into doing violent things, right, and becoming criminals, correct? Why not just take them out now? Heather has no objective standards she can appeal to in order to say one should be able to kill humans in the womb, yet not be able to kill them outside the womb. Her position is a total mess, thus it's untenable.
Okay, well, the problem is with your argument is that you view abortion as murder. I don't, and pro-choicers fucking don't. And as far as objective morality, that does not exist. You have not provided evidence that it even exists. And as far as drawing a difference between abortion and supposedly quote unquote murdering in the womb and murdering outside the womb, here's the thing: murdering outside the womb will break down society. Is a negative. In other words, to put in a way you obviously understand, murder quote unquote outside the womb is a negative for society. The other way, abortion is not. I can I don't know what else to say. I sorry to disappoint you, Antonio, but abortion is not and never will be murder. Period. Anyway, that's my response. Yeah, that's my response to him. Antonio, seriously, dude, this video was so full of straw that I'm genuinely surprised you're not skipping down the Yellow Brick Road with Dorothy and Toto. You need to stop with the straw man. You need to stop with the red herrings, and you need to stop honestly putting words in people's mouths. Okay, that's my advice to you, good sir. And you all have a good night. This has been the Atheist Ranger. As always, like, comment, and subscribe.